Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're here today with Catherine Owen. Known to her friends as Kat, she's a busy wife and mom to four daughters, who also fits her creative practices around volunteering in the local community. She was born and raised in a council house in the northwest of the United Kingdom and was the first person in her family to study at university, gaining a BA honors degree in applied arts at Edinburgh College of Art in the early 90s. She moved to the south coast of the UK in 1999 from the Highlands of Scotland with a small child and a Scottish accent. After a number of abusive relationships that impacted her life and work, Kat surrendered the whole mess to Jesus and found even more ways to express herself creatively. As Raggy Rat, she makes soft toys, plush characters for authors, and illustrations. Since 2008, she has blogged the exploits of the community choir Dorset for Singing and is a member of SCBWI and 12 by 12, which supports her move toward writing for children. Kat's adventures also have included helping to drive the train home from college one day. That must have been fun. Qualifying as a carnival queen in her early 40s and traveling the National Express coaches with a stowed away rat. Maybe we'll hear more about that. You can learn more about Kat at raggyrat.co.uk. So Kat, thanks so much for joining us. It's such a pleasure to be able to be here with you and learn more about your work.
Thank you. It's great for me. It's just so nice to chat with you.
So what else would you like viewers to know about you and your background?
Well, in my move towards books, I am pleased to say I've been published twice as an illustrator for a Christian author, Mary Weeks Millard. That was great to be asked, and that started right at the beginning of lockdown. So I had something to get busy with, get my teeth into. And I've also co-written some songs with a local music guy. He actually runs the choir Dorset for Singing, Ed Hints, and that's a nice sort of thing to dip into every now and then.
Absolutely. There's other authors that I know that also cross over to hymn writing or songwriting. And I think it's wonderful to have that breadth of skill. So what's got you into writing books? How did that start for you?
You know what? It was a game I played with the kids. I found myself a single mum and I felt bad. I felt at least half responsible for what my kids were going through.
Hmm.
And I realized that my parents messed it up as well. And I couldn't say a lot about my parents in terms of whether they loved me at times. It was difficult.
Hmm.
And I was like, okay. Sometimes my dad would say he was proud of me and I hung on to that. But I wanted my kids to know that I loved them because I loved them. So I started playing a game.
Hmm.
And when they started playing it back again, I was really, really, really moved. And as a single parent, you have a lot of your God moments, maybe in the bathroom, maybe washing the dishes. And it was a kitchen sink moment. I'm happy to report they'd all been fed. They'd all sort of trotted off happy. And it was me in the dishes. And, it could be God time. It was easy. And I just saw the game as a beautiful book.
Hmm.
And of course, I love and make art. I felt that I would be illustrating this book. And so I started to write. I started to write down what we were saying. I started to write down what we were exploring. And I had a new faith. And so the foundation was agape, God's unconditional love. So that's really what kicked off picking up a pen again, because, I'd actually forgotten that I like to write as a youngster.
And so what's the focus of your writing now?
At the moment, it's all kinds of projects that drop into my mind, which I think, these would be really good. One of my volunteering positions in the community is in school, listening to children read. We're called school readers. That's the charity, but we actually go in and listen to children read aloud.
Hmm.
And I do that every week. And then my other volunteering is with a charity called People First Dorset. And this is a charity that supports adults with learning disabilities in the community. So they're very much being facilitated to make friends, to eat together, to go to discos, to attend church if they want to really be in the community, make friends, and be involved. And it's really fantastic. I've done quite a few jobs in my life, and I've worked with learning disabilities. So dropping back into doing a bit of volunteering there, it's just felt really good. I've enjoyed that. And actually, we started writing a book together. It was a small group. Actually are the only people with learning disabilities who have a regular newspaper column in our local newspaper. And they said that they would like to write a book about a local subject. And I said, oh, I thought that would be a good idea. Why don't we link up? Because they talked about using AI for illustration. And I was like, no, please use me. Please, let's do this together. And, whether this becomes a real book or it's just a fantastic project, I have hopes for it. But yeah, it's really lovely.
Oh, that's very cool. What a wonderful endeavor. Um, what I mean, being a writer and getting books published and things like that is a very challenging area. As I've learned through all of my recent interactions with authors. What kind of challenges have you faced in this area?
Um, One of them, interestingly enough, was that I became agented as a result of going to a conference. And I kind of felt that was it. I felt that was my big break. And after 2 years with the agent, we did not sell any of my
Mm.
projects, any of my books. And so I was kind of like, what was that for, God? Did I waste time? I probably didn't waste time, but it was frustrating and it felt like a challenge. But in the end, it gave me time to consider things. I learned more about editing because it was an editorial agent. So, and I think the other one is rejections. I didn't see the rejections that the agent got because some agents will share everything with you and some won't. But in the times when I haven't been agented, I've collected a fair few rejections of my own from agents and editors. And then sometimes you're going to enter competitions and you'll get all excited, and I have done it. And I've won a second prize in a competition, but I lose a lot. And, you have to acknowledge that that's sad or disappointing, or, you might doubt what you're doing. That's a big challenge because then you start to challenge yourself, don't you?
Yeah, no, I mean, no question. But rejection is so pervasive. I mean, I think you probably know the story about Kathy Bostrom, right? The, children's book author that we both know. And I think she's published 40 some books now over a period of decades. But before her first one, I think she told me she had 240 rejections. 240. And then she ended up publishing over 40 books later on, what I mean? Which is, not everyone goes through either one of those kinds of scenarios, but it's so common that it's just part of the industry. But
Yeah,
have you considered like self-publishing? I mean, that is so much more of a viable option now than what it ever was in the past.
it is. And I've definitely considered it with several of my projects. And, with the book that I'm working on with People First Dorset, we would definitely consider that, especially because we would be able to crowdfund for it so we could remove the risk, and then the book would benefit the charity so that what the members have been working on would go on to, benefit other members as well. I'm quite interested in sort of like the hybrid um, model because there's many different forms, and some of them come with support for actually how the book looks and gets put together. I think for me, doing absolutely everything from scratch would be a bit daunting. and I'm juggling so many things on a
Hmm.
day-to-day base anyway. So some of the hybrid models would be quite helpful. And some of those come with, a label, a publisher's name and distribution, which is important. Although I'm well aware that whether you're traditionally or self-publishing, marketing is down to the author and
Yep.
the illustrator these days. It's a different, world publishing.
Absolutely. No, it's challenging. No question. All the different steps, but marketing probably the most, honestly, right? I mean, because as you said, it's like, trying to build awareness of something new when everyone else is trying to build awareness of their own thing. It's just very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do you think all this will take you next? Do you have any new projects besides the one that you've told us about?
Yeah, well, with the one that I'm talking about, I'm going to be moving towards the illustration for that. So I'm looking forward to doing a lot more illustrating because sometimes it feels like my life is a lot of sewing and lots of things to be making. And I'm always writing now. I'm always thinking of new projects. And I'm really hoping that another one of my books will find a publisher because it's being considered by a publisher.
Good, good.
Thank you. It's and when you just do a wild and crazy thing because you think it might be a good idea. Well, I did that. You'll have heard of Julia Donaldson,
Yes.
the Gruffalo. Well, apparently the Gruffalo, she sent it to a publisher and it sort of languished and nothing really happened.
Hmm.
So she sent it to Axel Schaefer, the illustrator, who'd probably illustrated other books for her. And she obviously felt that she knew them quite well. She sent the Gruffalo to them. And they said, oh, this is good. I could illustrate this. And they sent it to a publisher. And, the Gruffalo, so successful, such a well-known book. Well, I decided to do something wild and crazy like that. So I got this idea. I felt like I had a few nudges from the universe, and I won't give them away because they're all very relevant to the story. And it's a nonfiction story that I really wanted to bring into the classroom because of the universal themes. And so I wrote it. And then instead of sending it to a publisher or an agent or, anyone else, I actually sent it to the person it was written about. And I heard from their team and they really, really liked it. And then it got shelved for a while. And then I met this person at a talk. They were giving a talk about regenerating town centres because that's a big issue in the UK. I'm not sure about over there, but, Amazon and other things, maybe we shouldn't say that word, but, online buying is, killing town centres. It's all coffee shops, barbers. So it was a really interesting talk and it was really inspiring and, really meaty. And I saw this famous person and approached him at the end and said, hello, I'm Raggy Rat. And they were like overjoyed to see me. And I said, hey, remember that manuscript I sent you? And they said, oh yeah, sorry. They wouldn't let anyone disturb me for a while because I've been working on a book. And I went, hang on. So they said that they'd been working on a book. And I was like, oh dear, what kind of book? And they're like, oh no, it's not a children's book. I've been working on, an instructional book, a teaching book. And I think your project is a great idea. Let's have a conversation. So we ended up having a Zoom like this, me and the famous person. And they said, I like this book so much, I'm going to show it to my publisher. And so it is in the publishing house, in the hands of this big, lovely big publishing house, under discussion at the moment. So I'm really hoping that it's just going
Wow.
to take
Wow.
me in a good direction, a publishing direction. And that for me would be really exciting.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, please keep us posted. Maybe we'll do a book launch interview with you before we know it.
I would love
Takes a
that.
while
Yeah.
though. Once you sign a deal until the book comes out on the shelves, it takes a while, but we'll be patient. But please keep us posted on that. That's so wonderful to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah. And I know about patience because I like numbers and I like dates, and I'd written down the date when I sent the proposal to this person's team, and I finally got a Zoom with this person around about 500 days after. So patience is a virtue.
Yes,
It really is. And the way publishing works and the way, writers work, you can't really hurry it, can you? It
really.
just is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So as you know, I lead this project called Find Your Next Calling. So let's talk a little bit about discernment. Have you reflected much on the process you use to determine, what paths to take next or what important choices to make next?
Yeah, I usually expect weird things from God, like um, I'll find a pen in the road and I'll know I've got to go and write it. I found a particular pen in the road one day and I didn't leave it because it was by the woods and it'd get all icky. So I adopted it and I knew that I had to go and start writing this thing that I've been thinking of. I felt like it was just an obvious nudge. And I think with, discernment, we can only ever be reasonably certain that we're going in the right direction because, we do take some deviations from our path. The other one I tend to lean on is hearing something twice.
Hmm.
Like this morning, I was at our local writers group. It's been a very writerly day, actually. And we were at the writers group and there were some new people and they were telling us about what they did. And that was really interesting. And then someone at the group said, oh, do you give talks on this subject? And it was about local history. And the guy said, oh, you're the second person to ask that. And I said, that means you have to do something now. That's twice. God is like, it was a Christian writers group. So it was very appropriate to say that. And I think as a writer, morning pages or journaling or even just opening a book and praying with your pen. So you start to um, write about those challenges because sometimes they're the things that really make us want to turn to God. Write about those unsure things. Do you really want me to do this? What on earth am I going to do this? Start writing and it's amazing what pours out of you onto that page. The guidance that can come through, or even just the fact that the challenges and worries are out on the page and you can move forward. And my number one thing is look out for border guards. There's a book, and I'm sorry I'm not very good with names and titles, but I've read a few books in my time, and one of them was about this character. Is it called the Ordinary or Ordinary? And he's gonna move out the ordinary and go on a journey. And he starts his journey, and then immediately he meets the border guards, and they're called the border guards in the book, and they're the people that say, you want to go to art school, and they say, don't you want to study something more academic? Or I'm going to be a writer. Well, what about who's going to clean the house? There'll always be somebody saying, but what about? Shouldn't you? And that's frustrating, but it's also almost when you see them pop up, you set out on your journey, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start my own business. Oh, you might run out of money. When you see them pop up, I kind of think, yeah, I'm going in the right direction because the enemy likes to throw things in your path. You're going along on this path of God and here comes a. So yeah, I kind of think the border guards are a good sign. So watch out for them, but in a positive way.
Interesting. I love that. That's very insightful. The whole area about hearing things twice, multiple times. I've had that exact same thing happen to me with, some very important, what ended up to be, some very important steps that I took. I like to listen,
Yeah,
for that too.
yeah, yeah. And like when I say weird things from God, I'll just give you the weirdest one because it is a good story. When I was really, really new to faith and I thought that I should believe in God and I thought that I should pray and I still wasn't sure. And it was in a really, really bad situation. I stepped outside the back door one day, checked that the kids were okay, stepped outside the back door. I was going to check on the chickens, give them a bit of corn. We have chickens at the back. And I said to the kids, yep, going out the back. And I closed the back door and I went, God, if you're there, I really need to know.
Hmm.
And I looked around. There's no Jesus in the clouds. There's no vision. There's no heavenly sound effects. Not quite sure what to expect anyway, but okay. And I trudged to the shed and I put my wellies on because it's always muddy in the chickens. And in the chicken run, there's an apple tree at one end and a coop at the other. And so, there's a ramp and the chickens have to go up the ramp and they go in their little nest box and lay their eggs and stuff. But I have this door that I can open. I can look in the nest box. And so I looked in the nest box and I knew that God had a sense of humor and that God got me because in the nest box were 2 eggs and an apple. So the apple tree is here. The apple tree is here and the coop is here and up the ramp and in and into the nest, an apple. And I was like, now I know.
Oh my
You get
goodness.
me.
Oh, that's so funny. That is so funny. That's a good one. Very good one.
Thank you.
The
I love
apple and the eggs.
that.
The apples
Yeah.
and the egg nest.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because
So,
otherwise it was like this chicken. You're like, wah, 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 I'll just take this and put this in the nest.
yeah, right. Sure, of course. They're going to be able to carry it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So after all you've experienced and everything, what advice do you have for new authors that are considering writing their own books?
Write more and write more and write more, especially if you don't want to. And that's really annoying, but it's because it's really, really obvious. You could do little and often because that's still good. Especially those, morning pages where you just kind of let things flow or, write your prayers down. I found that really helpful. And the other thing that is so important is share your writing with others that you trust and that you know is safe. So I'm in a critique group and it's a closed group and we try to meet every month, share work with each other and everyone, crits each other's work. And then, that's often a time when you'll hear something twice in the room and you'll think, okay, well, maybe that really needs to be acted on. And because, as a new writer, I'd write something and I'd think, oh, that's amazing. It's going to be published straight away. And, little did I know. Because, for instance, the book that I wrote because I started playing a game with my kids still hasn't found a home. It's still a good story. It's still a good thing. But, I've written more projects and I've been productive and I've gone on to feel like I'm having some success or, just enjoy more what I'm doing. And then also, there are the big, the things that you can belong to, like SCBWI in the UK, we call it Scooby. And then there's 12 by 12. That's pretty much all online. I find that fabulous because there's teaching and there's critiquing and there's belonging and fun. I mean, we made a composite dance video the other week. That was hilarious. And ACW here in the UK, I think we do have overseas members, but that's the Association for Christian Writers. And that's the group that I went to this morning. We meet twice a month in our area, but it's different in other areas. And all of that kind of thing, you can really do things with other writers. So be with other writers, talk with other writers. It's a bit like going to church to be with your Christian family, to, do things with them, just to connect with people who affirm you. And, that's really, really useful. And then my last is support other writers, even if you don't want to, because you're going all stinking thinking because your projects aren't going anywhere and you've had another rejection and you just kind of, what can I do for you today? And like, so yesterday I put up a couple of reviews for Glennis's latest book because she's quite
Oh,
happy to
wonderful, wonderful.
send me some links, and I can get like an early review up for her where, that helps her get her book seen, especially on this side of the pond. So yeah, I found that, because you're always going to have needs in your life. And one day someone's just going to come up to you and say, I've done this for you. Or, I saw that you needed this. And so be that for other people, just because it gives you a happy feeling inside. And it's what we need to do because it's hard writing. It's hard.
Well, the whole idea of supporting each other as writers, I'm a huge believer in that myself. And I've never seen a community like the Christian children's book authors that support each other as well as you all do. And Glennis is a good example of that. I mean, she, shares not only her own work, but, tries to share a lot of work by other folks and use her platform for the benefit of all, kind of a thing. And
Yeah,
it's nice to see you, doing that and lots of other folks that do that. So um, I, I think that's just such a valuable thing at multiple levels.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah. We feel good when we work together, don't we?
Yeah, what a concept, huh?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Well,
Well,
I don't
Kat,
know.
it's so wonderful to spend some time with you, and I love hearing about all of your work, and please keep us posted on that latest development. That sounds wonderful, but whether or not that comes through, you're doing fantastic work, and it's appreciated by many people, and your support for others is appreciated by many people too. So, thank you so much for all of that.
Thank you, Brian. And it's so nice to chat to you.
Absolutely, so glad we got to do this.
Yay.